I guess I want to talk today a little bit about gurus. Um, we often find ourselves looking for gurus to try to help us improve our lives. And I'm no different from anybody else. I've looked for gurus to help guide me, um, so I can live better, live longer, more fulfilling life. I went to religious schools. I went to religious university. I went to a Catholic university. I went to a Quaker school. I was exposed to some of that, but particularly when I went to university, I took some theology classes that weren't always about Catholicism. I mean, even though I was at a Catholic university, we were exposed to ancient traditions, and that actually led me to my interest in Taoism, because it came up in one of my classes as an undergrad, and I went into Taoism and I read on it extensively. Then I got into Buddhism. From that point on, read through many religious texts, including one of my favorites was the Dhammapada, which was, I guess, an early Buddhist text that's very much related to Hinduism, really, in its origins, you can say. But you come across people, and I remember when I was in high school, there were some people coming in from India, or who were Indian migrants who came to the United States, and there was one by the name of, he was called the Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, and in the media he was always kind of reported as a kind of strange cult leader, a strange figure, who led people to some type of kind of belief where they would give up their possessions and kind of worship him, and they also painted him to be some type of criminal, which it wasn't really reported fairly, so I don't think we could really say. But I always found it later and recently, especially since YouTube has been showing a lot of his videos, and who he really is. I wish I had the opportunity to know more about him back then and his teachings. Maybe his teachings might have helped me back then, whereas instead of helping me now, I think I could have really used them back then. But we weren't exposed to his teachings. We were just exposed to this figure, right? But now you can see him on YouTube under the name Osho, and sort of telling his point of view about human existence and where we should be. And it's just interesting because in India and around the world, he is seen really as a revered figure now, whereas he was vilified, I think, in India and the United States back in the late 80s, early 90s. And of course he died in 1990, which is when I graduated from high school. But there's gurus, and sometimes they're vilified when they're speaking and alive, and then they're revered years after they passed. So he's one example, Osho, as we knew him, Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. There are other people who've come to the U.S. and with a philosophy. There was J. Krishnamurti, who was quite popular. Then there's Deepak Chopra, who also came on the scene when I was in, I guess around the high school. I started seeing him high school age. Start seeing him on TV and things like that. But his type, those sort of philosophical types, was very different from Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. The appearance, the Western clothing, it's sort of to appeal to Western people from a point of view they can sort of look at the person and not be put off by it. It's almost like, the Little Prince or something, where depending on how you present yourself, the message will be received or not received. And now we have Sadhguru, all through the airwaves, the media, YouTube, much like the other teachers I mentioned just a minute ago, entertainers, celebrities of all sorts, influential people are coming to him asking questions, and following his line of thought, his wisdom. Now, whereas Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh Osho was trying to unpack Indian culture and world culture and present something different, freeing the human spirit. And people like J. Krishnamurti and Deepak Chopra are exploring basically Indian philosophy, whereas Sadhguru is concerned with all these things, but I guess through the lens of Indian religion, and in particular Shiva. So, and I'm very interested in his way of thinking, and I listen to his lectures just like I listen to Osho's lectures from the past, and I listen to all of them and just take in what I can from each of them. So I think it's important to listen to these different ideas, take all the things you learn and put it together into your own way of thinking, because a way of thinking but also a way of living, it's important, especially these days when we have the pandemic upon us, and we have to try to figure out who we're going to be after this, and when we come out of this, what are we going to be like. So yeah, one of the things that always struck me that the Bhagwan said, he had said a lot of funny things. He was really a funny person, and very introspective as well, but philosophy with and through humor, was that he said lots of things, but one of the things was he said he was famous in the U.S. media for all his he had lots of Rolls Royces, and he seemed to have lots of fancy material possessions, but he's supposed to be this spiritual leader. And the thing is that he was trying to say that I guess almost like people were looking for some type of Hindu ascetic when they looked at him, but he was saying he's nothing of the sort. He was like he talked about people ask him always about his Rolls Royces, and he said those Rolls Royces mean nothing. I love those Rolls Royces, but it's like he said, I don't worship poverty, and I love that, because when you are poor, you have a tendency to worship poverty, or you think that poverty is okay, or that you can rejoice in it, that there's something redeeming about it, when there is absolutely nothing redeeming about it. It's a worse state of humanity. And I think that's all he was trying to say. I do not worship poverty. All right, anyway, something to think about. Thanks for watching.